Hi, everyone. I think we're live. Thanks for joining us for the fifth and final installment of Diablo Magazine's Dig In Comfort Food series, where we spotlight local feel-good comfort food. My name is Ethan Fletcher. I'm the food editor at Diablo Magazine, covering the East Bay. I'll be your host this afternoon. Just a couple reminders. The episode is being recorded and we'll share it following the event to everybody who registered. And I would also like to especially thank our sponsor, Xfinity, who sponsored the series generously. We appreciate it. Yeah, this is sort of tied into our November food issue, and it was an interesting one to put together this year, given the year that we have all had, and so we kind of tried to cover everything from an interesting perspective. We did a story about cooking at home because everybody's doing more of that, and then we did a story just to sort of about how all the restaurant industry folks have been sort of pivoting and adjusting and hanging in there. And our third feature was about a trend that I noticed of the return of comfort food, and it's something that I noticed 10 years ago when I first started at Diablo, and it was the recession, and I noticed that suddenly everybody was returning to to comfort food. So it does seem like in times of stress, everybody goes back to their kind of favorite comfort foods. And I think today we have kind of the mother of all comfort foods, one of my favorites. It's fried chicken. And here with us is Frenae McPherson from Minnie Bell's Soul Movement in Emeryville, and maker of one of the finest fried chickens in the Bay Area, I think. So welcome, Frenae. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I talked to you last year, I know, for a story that we did, and you had a kind of an interesting start to your business. It seemed like quite a journey. Can you tell me a little bit about how the restaurant came to be? You started doing catering, is that right?
So I did. I started with corporate and special event catering. Well, even before that, I just started with small community events in the Fillmore of San Francisco with youth classes and community events. And in 2011, I was introduced to La Cocina, where I started to formalize more and do corporate and special event catering, and also pop-ups throughout San Francisco. Okay. So that's how I started, went into the food truck, but the food truck just didn't seem to be a fit for me and my food. And so I let that go and went back to the corporate special event catering and pop-ups. Mm-hmm. And a pop-up landed me in Emeryville. And that pop-up was more than I anticipated. I mean, we developed a great following in the East Bay. Got a lot of exposure. People really gravitated towards the food and loved it. And so now we are in a little over a year in our long-term lease at Public Market in Emeryville.
Okay, congratulations. And you started off in that they have a kind of a cool program at the Public Market where they have sort of an incubator tied to La Cocina. People who've gone through that program can sort of do 6-month trials basically and introduce their food in the market.
Yeah, so the kiosk that I started in, Mumbai started in before me. I was the second, and now Mama Lamise is the third. That's right. And that space has been designated to La Cocina businesses that want to come in and see if the market is a fit that doesn't come from brick and mortar spaces, and it's able to give the entrepreneurs an opportunity to test out that market outside of corporate and special events. So.
And I remember one interesting thing, you were actually working for the city of San Francisco for quite a while until you finally made the leap to go full-time with this, right?
Yes, I was a transit operator, so very intense job, have pretty thick skin, and
you must have some
doing
stories.
My food truck at the same time, so.
Yeah. So tell me about the restaurant, the name. Where did that come from?
So Minnie Bell's is a combination of my great aunt. Her name is Minnie. She's 87 years old. She's still here. She's been able to see the space. She's been able to see this journey, which is amazing. and Bill was my late grandmother, and they were my inspiration to cook. So this is me bringing them on this journey with me. And my grandmother is here with me in spirit. My auntie's still in the physical form, which is a blessing. So I definitely had to do that because they inspired me as a little girl in the kitchen.
That's wonderful. So tell me about the restaurant, the concept, and the chicken specifically. What was kind of your inspiration, and where did the recipe come from?
So all the food that I cook is really a lot of food that I grew up eating. I just put my little twist on things. And the rosemary fried chicken kind of happened. It wasn't planned. I had some leftover rosemary from a whole nother dish that I decided to put in my fried chicken. And I was like, let's see how this works. And I did it for my food truck at the time. And it was a major hit. And my sister-in-law, who worked on the food truck with me, she was like, you have to keep this. Like, this is your signature rosemary fried chicken. And that's literally how we came up with the fried chicken recipe. And going into public market, I knew that I wanted to have a fried chicken concept. So I knew how well it did on our trailer, and I knew that it would be a perfect fit and fill a void inside public market and I think just the soul food industry in general, because I really wanted a streamlined menu that was very specific to a fried chicken joint. And it was a hit in Emeryville as well. It's, the rosemary just brings another layer of flavor to your traditional fried chicken. And it was the first time that a lot of people heard of it. Well, anybody that came to eat, it was their first time hearing about it. And people really love that freshness that the rosemary brings to this deep fried chicken.
That makes sense. I mean, I lived in San Francisco for a while, and anybody who's lived in San Francisco knows rosemary grows like crazy out there. So it's sort of a natural resource, right?
Exactly.
Okay, well, let me see. And I remember you saying that it was a little bit inspired by Popeyes, right? Where you wanted to have your own 2-piece and 3-piece meals that were a little bit better quality, where people could go to get that stuff. Is that true?
Absolutely. Growing up, around a KFC and a Popeyes, that was like Sunday dinner for a lot of people, especially after church in my neighborhood. And my community loves fried chicken. So I wanted to create a concept that was similar to that, for my love of fried chicken, how different my chicken was, but scratch made food. That was fresh food that was prepared in our kitchen from start to finish, and southern sides that people enjoy. And that included the brown butter cornbread, the collard greens, the mac and cheese. So that was the concept that I wanted to have. Something that Sunday crowd can come to Miniville's after church and get scratch made food. Food that really tastes like you're sitting in your home, your childhood kitchen, because that's what it feels like for me. And so many people have come and said that same thing. And I felt like I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish in this concept, with people having that feeling of home when they eat the food.
That's wonderful. And pre-pandemic, I think you said you're getting a lot of that church crowd on Sundays, right?
Absolutely. 2:20 p.m. That's when the church crowd goes in. So we have, and we would close pre-pandemic. We closed for 2 hours to clean our fryers and put fresh grease in it. So we needed to make sure we were ready for that 2:20 crowd to come in before our 3:30 closure. And people that were regulars knew, okay, we have to get there before 3 because they're getting ready to change the oil. So yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, well, let's get going with the chicken. This is kind of a classic Southern fried chicken. Is that right?
It is. So I can definitely drop some for you. I show you our dredging process. And my chicken, it's a wet batter. So I love for it to go into the grease immediately, because if it sits for a while, it starts to absorb the flour, and then you won't get the same consistency with the crispy fried chicken.
Okay.
So I just dredge it.
And what's in the, is that just
shake
flour?
it really well.
Okay.
It's just plain flour. The chicken is so well seasoned that it doesn't need any additional seasoning into the flour. We marinate it overnight, so all of that flavor can just really soak into the chicken, and there's no need for additional seasonings.
Okay, great. And what is the marinade? And what is the marinade?
What was that?
What's the marinade?
So the marinade, which I actually have here, is our wet marinade. Okay. And it consists of fresh rosemary, spices, and some secret ingredients in there. But okay, but this is what it consists of, and it's something that we are going to be putting on the market soon. This is not the packaging we would have it in, but this is what it looks like, and this is what the label would look like when we start to market the actual marinade.
Very
so
cool.
This is our secret ingredient.
Cool. And will you be selling,
and then I also have some chicken. We'll sell it online, and we'll also have it on site in the kiosk when we do start to market it. And I'm hoping to actually get that out by next week.
Oh, wow. Great. Okay, cool. So people can have fried chicken for Christmas, right?
Exactly. And this is just some prepared chicken.
Okay.
And you can see rosemary actually on the chicken.
Yeah, I remember that when I ate in there, and you can see the little green specks in there.
And I'm getting some of the juice on my fingers. I'm so sorry. You can't see the juice that's coming out of it.
And how long do you cook it for, and what kind of oil do you use?
So we just use the canola oil. In the kitchen in Emeryville, we have a deep fryer, and it fries for about 20 minutes. Okay. 20 to 25 minutes, depending on the size. Normally, wings and drumsticks come out first. They cook faster, of course. They're a smaller piece of meat, and thighs and breasts stay in a little longer. But you do about 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes.
And what are you looking for? Like a kind of that golden brown color? Is that what you want?
A very deep golden brown color. I really feel like the color of the fried chicken really makes the fried chicken. Like, everyone eats with their eyes before their stomach. So the beauty in a deep golden piece of fried chicken is just amazing to me. As you can see, I love fried chicken.
Yeah, I got it. You have the.
So just like a really deep golden brown.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And is there a certain temperature you want the oil to be, or do you just bring it to boil?
We do 325. We cook at 325. Mm-hmm. Because the batter is a wet batter, typically 350 is a really good temp, but because we have a wet batter, I tend to go a little lower so that we don't burn the chicken. It doesn't get too brown before the inside is cooked through. It's cooked all the way through. So we cook at 325.
Okay. And let's see, and any particular type of chicken you use, or do you have any recommendations on that front? Or brand, I guess?
I don't have a certain brand. We just make sure we use a natural chicken, free of hormones and things. If it's too big, it's not right, So, natural chicken. I really love, like, my personal preference is party wings. Like, I love to fry party wings. So, that's something that I cook at home pretty much, and for my family. it's the party wings as opposed to the whole pieces of chicken. They're just fun,
Yeah.
especially with hot sauce.
Yes, absolutely. I was going to ask if you recommend putting anything on there. Do you like the Frank's Red Hot, or what kind of hot sauce do you like?
Crystal.
Really? Okay.
Crystal is hot sauce. And we, with our food, with our boxes at Mini Bells, we do the little packets of Crystal.
Okay.
So we don't have, it's just a little packets of Crystal, and people actually love them. Like, some people have never seen the little packets of Crystal before, but that's my go-to hot sauce. I absolutely love Crystal.
Yeah.
It's not too hot, and I feel like it has.
We have a couple of questions from some viewers, and one question is, why do you call it a wet batter if you dredge it in the dry flour?
Well, the marinade is wet, so we're not just putting dry spices onto the chicken. We're putting this wet marinade onto it. So it's a wet batter in the sense of mixing together like eggs, flour, or soda or beer or something into it. It's a wet marinade, which is why I say a wet batter. So technically not a wet batter, but the chicken is marinated in this marinade before going into the flour. So you somewhat get the same consistency as if you were.
And you give it the dry rub before you put it in the oil.
What's that?
And you just give it the dry flour rub before you put it in the oil, right?
Exactly.
Let's see. One more
Yeah.
question. Okay, this is an interesting one. What tips do you have for storing leftover fried chicken so that it doesn't get soggy? Good question.
That's pretty hard to do, but at home, I store it in the box that I have at Mini Bells, which is just the Eco Craft box. And then I put it into the oven covered at a high heat, which is about around 375 for 10 to 15 minutes. Okay. And it kind of retains some of the crispiness, but it's still not the same as if you're just pulling it out of the oil.
That makes sense. I mean, one tip would just be to eat it all when it's fried, right?
When it comes out the green.
Okay, and
I do for some of my customers is leave the box open.
Okay. And let's see, do you have a Facebook page?
We do. It's just Mini Bells. So Facebook.com/Mini Bells. MINNIEBELLS.
Great. And that's the website as well is Mini Bells. It's minibellssoul.com, right?
Correct.
Okay, great. We're getting a lot of questions here. I'm going to keep going. Let's see. Do you ever have the coating, the perfect color brown, but then when you cut into it, it's not completely cooked?
Well, we tend to temp at Mini Bells. We temp every piece. I mean, that we definitely had that situation where you open it up, it's a little red inside, but I'm really, really on my staff about temping every piece of chicken that comes out of that fryer for that reason, because that's kind of like, when you see that, for me, it's like a dagger in my heart. So, yeah, we do temp every piece of chicken to come out at 160. And then that carryover temp to 165 once it's pulled out the oil.
Okay. And when you say temp, that means you put a food thermometer in there?
Yeah, we have a digital thermometer that we put into every piece of chicken when it comes out to get that 160 that we're looking for.
Okay, great. Okay. Oh, we have somebody saying that recommending an air fryer to heat it up the next day. That's interesting. Oh, great.
I feel like that's an option. I've never did it. I've never did the air fryer, but I have cooked in the air fryer, and I feel like it could totally work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking.
It could totally work.
Yeah.
Now, how long? I don't know. Yeah.
And let's see. Do you you only dip it in flour one time? Is that right? Before you put it in the oil?
Yeah, just one time. I don't like a really thick coating of flour. Just a nice coat. Shake it up a little and put it right into the flour. I mean, right into the oil.
Okay. And let's see. Tell me a little bit about your sides that you serve at Mini Bells. Do you have any favorites and to serve with the chicken?
So the fan favorite is the mac and cheese and the brown butter cornbread. So our cornbread is very different too. It is a sweet cornbread, and it just has some interesting flavors from the brown butter that are not normally in cornbread. So a lot of people are like, "What's in this? Is it honey? Like what?" And I'm like, "No, it's no honey." But it is a sweet cornbread, and it's really unique. Our first year in Emeryville, we got best cornbread in the Bay Area. So people really enjoy the cornbread. Mac and cheese too. The mac and cheese is also a favorite of everyone.
Mm-hmm. And let's see. We have a question about the oil. You say you use canola oil for the oil, right?
Yeah, I just use a canola oil. Mm-hmm. I used to use a rice bran oil, but I found that the canola is not as expensive and it works just as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, a simple canola oil is totally fine.
Okay. And let's see. Oh, I'm going to take this time. I want to remember to do this. We're going to introduce the winner of the $100 Visa gift card from Xfinity, our sponsor. So thanks again for that. And the winner is Gina W. Congratulations, Gina. We'll be following up with you via email to send you the gift card, and maybe you can use it for some fried chicken, perhaps. Okay, here's a good question from Gina, who won the contest. Is there a special technique for dropping the chicken into the oil?
Just don't drop it so that the grease pops back up.
You don't want to hide.
So I just lightly put it. Yeah, just don't. I have a lot of war scars. So,
I bet.
Yeah, we just just drop it into the oil. We get as close as possible without getting too close, because that will prevent the splatter. Is to get as close as possible without getting too close. Right. And we do not fry with baskets at McDonald's. We just use the entire fryer to fry the chicken. It gives us more space. We're able to fit more, and I just feel like the consistency is better.
Interesting. Okay. And you just use tongs to take it out?
We use tongs, and we have a spider. We have a large spider that we'll use to grab out the chicken. So we have long tongs and a long spider.
That makes sense. Here's a question for you. Do you guys sell out every day, and how early should somebody get there if they want to make sure they get some fried chicken?
We do not sell out every day, so we're normally, especially now, we are open until our close. Mm-hmm. Pre-pandemic, yeah, we did usually around 30 minutes before closing.
Okay. And when do you open? What time?
So right now we are only open 4 days a week, Thursday and Friday, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. So those are the peak hours at our market. So it only made sense to be open peak hours to avoid, losing the already huge loss of revenue from COVID.
Yeah. Well, let's get those vaccines out and back to normal, right?
Yeah.
And I would really recommend anybody who hasn't been to the public market to go check it out. It's really pretty cool. And it's a nice big open space. Bunch of other restaurants, great restaurants that are there. How has your experience been in the public market? It seems like a cool place to operate.
It's been great for me. I think the benefit to being in such a shared space is when someone comes to eat one thing, they want to try many other things. Mm-hmm. So if someone's coming in to get chicken, they also want to get ramen or a wrap from next door. So that's definitely the benefit. It is people just wanting to come in and try a little bit of everything. And public bars just have to close with the new mandate, but even people just coming in to drink, they want to eat after a few drinks. So right. In that shared space with all the variety is a benefit for everyone. Yeah.
A couple more questions we have. I think this might set the record for the most number of questions, so congratulations, Renee. Let's say, how deep do you do the oil?
Nice.
Is it just enough to cover it completely?
Yeah, it's definitely enough to cover it completely. You don't want to go too far over because it's gonna flip. Uh-huh. The chicken to keep flipping, and you want it brown on each side, so you'll end up with a bubble on one side because we're not getting that even frying all the way around. So just definitely enough to cover the chicken, and that's it.
Okay. And one more question. Do you have any special holiday meal kits or offerings for the holidays?
So we only did Thanksgiving. We did fried turkeys, and that was a hit. We fried 35 turkeys. Wow. And yeah, it seemed like each turkey came out more beautiful than the other, but we don't have any for the rest of the year. But we are open on the 24th for people come in and grab whatever food they may want for whatever holiday they celebrate. So we will be open from, that is a Thursday, we'll be open from 3 to 7, which I believe that's a Thursday. So 3 to 7 will be open.
Okay, great. And somebody else asked, can they order ahead by phone and pick it up?
So you can order on our website. You can pre-order on our website. The prep time is usually 45 minutes, and then you can come in and pick it up.
Okay, great.
We also do DoorDash. So yeah, DoorDash for the on-demand delivery.
Okay, great. And another question, let's see, what it says, mentions one of your side dishes as the braised greens. What are those greens?
Those are collard greens. And so they're collard, vegan. We just braise them in a veggie stock, fresh garlic and spices. It's one of the very few items that we have that's vegan.
Right. Yeah, no vegan chicken, I'm assuming.
Unfortunately not. Maybe someday.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, mostly I watched I'd encourage everybody to watch the video on your website. It's really nice. You mentioned that this isn't just, it's a business for yourself, obviously, but you also kind of hope to serve as a little bit of an example to the African-American community as a small business owner. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a San Francisco native, born and raised in the Western Addition, the Fillmore of San Francisco, the Fillmore District of San Francisco. And I still live here, and I grew up in the heart of the crack epidemic. A lot of my generation of young men were murdered, a lot lost their lives. And I just seen a lot of that growing up. And I knew that wasn't the outcome that I wanted for my life or my children. So it was my journey to travel outside of my community and learn that it was more to life outside of my community as well. And learn to be successful in what I love to do, which was cooking, and create opportunity in building this business so that, you know, other young women that love to cook or love to do anything know that they can do anything that they want to do as long as they are destined and manifested. Because that's what I did. I manifested it. This is what I wanted. I thought about it, and I went out to find the resources in order to help me, you know, to do it. So I can do that. Anybody can, you know, anybody can. I have a 21-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old son, and I have that example for them as well. So definitely, I feel like anybody can do whatever they want to do in whatever environment that they come from, because we are responsible for whatever path we take in life. And I, you know, that's just how I feel. Like I came from a very tough community, but I was in charge of where I took my life. And I just want people to know that whatever you want to do, you absolutely can do.
Absolutely. And I know that you've definitely served as an inspiration for a lot of people. So I think that's about it. Thank you so much for joining us, Renee. It was a real pleasure having you on and showing us the chicken. And I would just encourage everybody to go check out the public market, get that fried chicken. You won't regret it. It's delicious. And happy holidays. Thanks again, Renee.
Thank you. I appreciate you all.
Bye. Take care.